I talked to someone, and when I looked at my phone, it was covered in makeup. So I hatched an idea as an entrepreneur. My name is Jessica Lynne White. I'm a physical therapist of 26 years. My first job was at an outpatient orthopedic clinic. Track and field was nothing that I aspired to do. The one thing that Coach Harvey Brown would always say to me, Jessie, you're little, but you're mighty. The inspiration that man instilled in me. And I talked to someone, and when I looked at my phone, it was covered in makeup. And I said, there has to be a specific product that's not going to damage your phone. So I hatched an idea as an entrepreneur. So I ordered all of this product. If I'm going to do this, I need to dedicate all of my time to this. Something came out of my mind into reality. What advice would I give is to get out there and try. And nobody's ever going to shame you for trying to follow your dreams. I am Jessica Lynne White, and I'm a legacy maker. Jessica Lynne White, Legacy Makers. My name is Jessica Lynne White. I'm a physical therapist of 26 years and a digital marketer with a specific niche in helping national telemedicine brands come to life, from branding and logo and design to doing a website to bringing the software platform together and giving people a brand that they can be proud of and helping them launch that in the marketplace.
Jessica Lynne White's story begins not with a silver spoon, but with the tumultuous uncertainty of a divided family.
My childhood. I have a twin sister. We were born in southeastern Ohio in a very, I would say, impoverished town. Our parents were college dropouts, and we had a very tough beginning. We did not have a silver spoon when we grew up. Our parents fought all the time. I wouldn't say that I had a bad childhood, but I certainly don't remember it feeling very safe sometimes. We grew up poor. Our parents didn't have a lot of money, and we learned very quickly that we had to be resourceful. My childhood was not easy at all. Probably one of the single most defining moments in my life. When we were 4, my parents, they couldn't stay together, and my mom was from California and my father was from Ohio, and we kind of went back and forth, and my father finally asked his parents in Ohio if they could care for my twin sister and I. And we were in California at the time with our mom. She was having a hard time struggling, finding work and being able to pay for us, and having 2 small children, twin girls under 5 years old. And our mom put us on a plane by ourselves because she couldn't afford a ticket. And I remember sitting on the plane. There was a Chinese man sitting next to us who was so sweet, and he had money, and he cut apples for us. Basically my mom put us on a plane and shipped us to Ohio to live with my grandparents for 2 years, which for a long time I struggled with feeling abandoned and not good enough. But then, as a mother of 2, I realized that my parents did the best they could with what they had, and I have forgiven them. My grandparents, they were so loving and kind. My grandfather was a devout Baptist Christian. My grandma she was a teacher's aide, I think. There was a lot of structure and there was a lot of love. So I have amazing memories of my grandparents. Well, we lived with our grandparents for 2 years, between around 4 and 6 years old, and then we were reinserted back into our parents' home in Columbus, Ohio, and we got along great. We were still basically living in poverty. I remember we didn't have enough money to pay our electric bill, so we slept as a family in the kitchen. with the oven open because that was our only source of heat. My mom is the most creative soul. She is a giver. She makes shit happen. My mom, when we were so poor that we couldn't even afford to go to the laundromat, my mom would stay up all night and sew a brand new dress for my sister and I to wear to school the next day. She would make miracles happen out of nothing. My mom is literally the reason why I am so resourceful and never give up. There's always a way, and my mother taught me that.
After a devastating public failure in track and field, Jessica sought a new path in the world of healthcare.
Track and field was nothing that I aspired to do. I have no idea what possessed me to go to the gym and try out for track and field. I don't think I even knew what track and field was, really. And so I went. Our coach, Coach Harvey Brown, I will never forget you. The one thing that Coach Harvey Brown would always say to me was, and I'm going to do his accent, "Jessie, you're little, but you're mighty." And I will never, ever forget the inspiration that that man instilled in me. I qualified for the state meet at the Ohio State University Horseshoe, which if you are from Ohio, you know that this is the premier sporting destination in the state of Ohio. I'm the first girl from my high school to make it and qualify for the state track meet. And it was a huge deal. My family was there, my dad, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, God and everybody was there. And the gun goes off, and coming around the first turn, I am probably in third or fourth, and you have to be top 6 to be All-American. And coming around that third turn, I reached for the second to last hurdle with my non-lead leg, and my toes on my left leg were turned down, and I hit the hurdle. And I fell, and I'd never fallen before, so I didn't know I was allowed to get up. If I would have gotten up, I would have still been top 6. I would have still been All-American. And I remember being on my hands and knees. And I remember looking up and just seeing all of these girls pass me. And that's something that's haunted me for most of my adult life. And I'll never forget when I was pulled off the track and the track official walked me down on the infield. And right when I got to the finish line, she put me back on the track and let me cross the finish line. And that meant something to me. That meant that even if you don't finish the race the right way, you can still finish the race. And that has stayed with me for my entire life because I was like, you get one chance. That was my one chance to show the world what I was about. And I freaking fell down and I was humiliated. It shattered my confidence. It shattered my identity. Track and field was such a huge part of who I was as a human being. And for me to fall on this major stage, but there was a gem in there because I didn't know that I was allowed to get up. And that lit a light bulb. If you can get educated and not have tunnel vision about what you're doing, if you can get educated about all of the possibilities, you can fall, but you can still get back up and you can still be successful.
A smear of makeup on a flip phone sparked an idea, pushing Jessica from the clinic into the unpredictable world of consumer products.
And this was when flip phones existed. The iPhone didn't even exist. I remember flipping my phone out. We were in the car and I talked to someone. And when I looked at my phone, it was covered in makeup. And I was like, there's got to be a product to clean this off, right? And she said, no, I don't think there is. And this light bulb went off over my head. And I said, there has to be a specific product that's not going to damage your phone, that maybe even smells good. So I hatched an idea as an entrepreneur. This is my first big entrepreneurial venture. I'm going to invent scented cell phone wipes. So I ordered all of this product and I had no way to sell it. I had no marketing plan involved. I had hired a consultant, but I had all this product. So I had to be very resourceful. I found a local manufacturer that would drop ship for me, and they taught me a lot about even basic shipping things. It was so innovative that there wasn't really a product niche. I ended up liquidating it to a couple of stores that, sold it for pennies on the dollar to get rid of that debt. And it took me probably 5 years to pay the manufacturer off. There was confirmation that something came out of my mind into reality, and it was because I dreamed it into existence. When I was pregnant with my son, almost 6 years ago, I had a friend who was an influencer in LA, and I had no idea what that was. In fact, my twin sister had told me to go to an influencer's page for inspiration for my pregnancy photo shoot. I was like, I don't even know what Instagram influencer is. I know what Instagram model is. And when I went to her page, I noticed that she was doing brand collaborations. She had a link in bio. She had digital products. She had a definite grid aesthetic, and her content was very planned. And I had no idea that you could make money on a free app called Instagram. So after I had my son, I'd be sitting in the nursery for hours, rocking him. I just consumed content. How do you turn your social media page into a sales funnel? How can you make money on Instagram? So I took a $400 course on how to be an influencer, and my family and friends thought I was absolutely nuts. Like, it was this huge Ponzi scheme. Like, what is she doing? So I started doing brand collabs. It was for free product first because I just wanted free skincare and free stuff for my nursery, but it grew into so much more than that. A calculated, very intentional way of making money on Instagram. So then I started getting paid collaborations, and then I saw one of the women who took the same course that I did, where she was advertising that she can help people be an influencer. And I messaged her and I was like, Kate, you just took the same course that I did. And she said something to me that I'll never forget. She said, Jessica, you only have to be 2 steps ahead of somebody that needs you to be valuable. And a light bulb went off over my head. And I said, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do it too. So I started posting content that I could help people be influencers because I was doing brand deals and making money, and I knew how to pitch, and I knew kind of that strategy. And I got my first influencer coaching client on a slider on Instagram stories that said, slide here to learn how to be an influencer. She paid me $1,600 a month. And that was the moment. It was lightning for me. This is what I want to do. I want to be full force an entrepreneur.
The marketing world chases buzzwords, but Jessica was about to discover something more powerful. Jessica's greatest insight came not from a textbook, but from telling a client the one thing they didn't know they needed.
Kickstart Social was an accident. I never woke up and said, I want to have a digital marketing agency. As a physical therapist, I was always very clinical. I remember with doing a lot of the entrepreneurial things that I had done with Instagram and coaching. One of my first clients was an IV hydration nurse from Alpharetta, Georgia, and she asked me to do some content for her for social media. And she said, I hate doing social media, I hate it. And so I faked it until I made it. And I said, that's what I do for a living. And she was my first client. And I got a dentist in Santa Monica also who was looking for an influencer, actually, which was kind of a God wink. She found me on an influencer network somewhere in Santa Monica. And she said, I think I need an influencer for my biologic dentistry brand. And I said, you don't need an influencer. You need better content. So both of those healthcare practitioners kind of launched me into doing content, social media. And the nurse practitioner introduced me to her kind of audience and her mentorship program that she was a part of, which opened a door for me to several other nurse practitioners. And before I knew it, within 90 days, I had like 30 nurse practitioners doing their social media. And my sister had a virtual assistant from Pakistan. His name's Cash. So he came on with me and I asked him to help me with websites. And so one day he was like, Jessica, why do you have all of these websites? What's going on here? And he kind of transitioned from being a doer to actually being my business consultant. He is an accountant in Pakistan, and we would Zoom for literally 6 hours a day, just figuring stuff out. And it's kind of that integrator visionary relationship. So with me as the visionary, I would say, this is what I want. This is what I see for doing social media and doing websites for these people. And he would find the tech for me, and he would integrate and do the automations and make things happen. And we just we started with a certain tech stack in the beginning, and then as we grew, I remember one of the bloggers that I was coaching needed a website, and I said, hey, do you think we could do a website for her? And he was like, yeah, I can build websites. I'm like, you do? And he was like, yeah, I can build a WordPress website. So we sold it for $400. I remember pitching her $400. I was like, do you think she's going to buy it? And she did. And we sold our next one for $600. We sold our next one for $1,000. And then we just started gaining traction. And then all of the people that I was working with, all of these beautiful nurse practitioners, they did IV hydration, they did medical aesthetics, they did post-op recovery care, and they needed to run ads. And I pushed back on that for the longest time because Meta and Facebook Facebook and Instagram from a marketing perspective is such a beast. And another God wink, some email marketing funnel that I had, a couple that did med spa marketing found me and said, hey, if you're doing social media content, we may be able to have a collaboration here. We have clients that we do ads for, but we don't do social media. So I bit the bullet and I hired them to teach me the ropes on how to do Instagram ads and Facebook ads. And my very first client, who was the IV hydration nurse practitioner, let me use her business account as a kind of a dummy account. Because of the trust that I had with these beautiful women, they let me learn how to grow my business. So I just developed into a full stack agency. We do social media, we do design, we do websites, we do ads, we do influencer management as well. And we launch campaigns in that way. And it's been the craziest, wildest journey.
After mastering the mechanics of marketing, Jessica directed her expertise toward the rapidly evolving world of telehealth. It was here, in the wellness space, that she would move beyond building funnels and discover her true calling.
Currently, I work in the GLP-1 weight loss and wellness space, whether that's weight loss medication or other peptides or hair, skin, ED, energy, you name it. When I started this, it was an exercise in me learning how to do it soup to dessert. How do you really do this? Because having people come to me for help, how do I build my email funnel? How do I make my website better? How do I increase conversions? And coming in as a consultant, I really wanted to understand the front end and the back end. But in doing so, when I'm doing social media marketing, when I'm doing influencer marketing, and we are collaborating with these people to get them medication to show their results over their weight loss journey or whatever journey they're going on, depending on the modality that they're using, I have come to know these people. This person had failed bariatric surgery and is using GLP-1 medication to lose weight. This person has Hashimoto's disease and an autoimmune disease that is being so impacted by these treatments and these drugs. This person has so much inflammation or PCOS or, you name it. And if I look at a brand and all of the influencers that they have, I know them all. I know their story. And I never expected to be so uplifted by how these treatments can absolutely change lives for people. And I think that was the most shocking thing, shifting from just, cookie cutter, we got to get these funnels together, we got to get this going, and then actually seeing that these drugs work, these treatments, these modalities work, and how it's changing their lives. It's given me so much fulfillment in this space. When I was, 8 or 9 years old, my grandfather had several heart attacks. And I specifically remember being in his room when the doctor came in and he said all of these words that we didn't understand. I vowed that day, number one, I was going to help people. Number two, I was definitely going to go into healthcare. And number three, I was always going to make sure that whoever I spoke to understood what I was saying. I could look at someone and say, your hamstring tightness is contributing to your decreased step length with your gait, which is altering your ability to have multi-directional stability. Or I could say, if you stay closer to your walker, you're going to have a better balance and you're not going to fall. Same message, but delivered in a completely different way. What advice would I give to an aspiring entrepreneur is to get out there and try. You're never going to regret trying to bring something into the world that comes from your heart, that comes from your soul, that comes from your mind. And nobody's ever going to shame you for trying to follow your dreams. And if they do, then flip them the bird.
Now, a mother and a leader, Jessica defines what it truly means to build a lasting impact.
Being a mom and an entrepreneur has been an exercise in throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing what sticks and seeing what doesn't stick. But the biggest gift in my life is having children. And I started late. I had my son when I was 43 and I had my daughter 6 weeks before my 49th birthday. And it's been a definite balance. Do I feel guilty? Of course I do. Do I feel guilty while my fiance and my son are watching monster trucks or whatever they're watching? I do. But I also left my job as a full-time director of rehab and said, I'm jumping into this full force. If I'm going to do this, I need to dedicate all of my time to this for better work-life work-life balance. Are you going to feel guilty sometimes? Yes. Are you going to feel like you're not giving enough to your children? Sometimes, yes. But the payoff for me is being very present and understanding when I'm with my kids, I'm with my kids, and treasuring those moments as much as I possibly can. And when my children get older, I want them to see me win. I want them to see what hard work, dedication, vision can transpire into. And that's not just money. It's having drive. It's having success. It's knowing that what you put your mind to, that you can do. I have Zooms with other women entrepreneurs and nurse practitioners, and they've got their kids, Zoom Live 2025. They've got their kids in the background. They always say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I say, do not say ever that you're sorry for being a mom or having your children be loud in the background. And I've had so many people say, wow, that meant a lot to me, because I felt like I needed to keep them behind closed doors and not really be a mom. And I think being a mom is one of my superpowers, and it's the superpower of a lot of the women that I help as well. So I think a little sprinkle of humanity and a little sprinkle of sass and a big sprinkle of drive and determination is my secret sauce. I'm honored to be a legacy maker because it truly is about my legacy and what I'm bringing to the table, what I'm teaching my children, what I'm teaching myself, and that self kind of admission that you did it. You did it, girl. You did it. And that's worth being a legacy maker. I am Jessica Lynne White, and I'm a legacy maker.